In playing the grace notes, it's important that they don't interfere with the major rhythm that is being played by the larger regular notes that are written on the page. They come usually before the beat on which that major note is played. So in this particular measure, we find the C grace note is played right before the B flat. So you get a feeling of articulating the C but slurring into the B flat. So just practice that alone a few times. And then if you can think of how it fits rhythmically, there's a B flat right before that B flat with the grace note, so play the two B flats with the grace note in between. So you can get the feel of the time. You can play the two notes without the grace note. Until you get them to feel very comfortable and playing the whole phrase. So the grace note doesn't sound louder than the regular notes, but it is easily heard and you can tell the pitch of that note and the rhythm. The next challenge that we have in this phrase is the trill. Trills often are played too frantically and too fast. Avoid this like the plague. You don't want to play trills out of context. You certainly would not want to play the trill like this. Really out of context. It really sounds ugly and like you're trying to play it too fast. A trill is usually played to the next diatonic note above, and above the B natural you'll be trilling to the C. Usually in this period of music we start on the bottom note first, although in some music you may start on the top note first. So practice first of all just keeping your fingers so the second valve moves evenly up and down. And the important thing is that you hear both notes equally, that you don't just hear the top note or the bottom note. Too often we'll hear or one note over another note. So try to make them even in value and even in dynamic, so both notes have the same sound. Keeping the breath solid so that you have an even sound. In this particular dynamic, it is marked forte, so it should be a full sound, but it shouldn't be overdone, and the trill should not be too fast. This is a slower etude, and so trills don't need to be as fast as they might be in a faster etude. So think of the note in this measure, and we'll try just the trill without the grace note right now, so you get the idea of the trill feeling. You notice I stopped on the B natural at the very end of the trill. That is a good way of allowing the grace notes that you're playing to be played evenly. So I stop for just a moment on the B natural before I play the grace notes. So think of trilling 1, 2, 3 and stopping on the third eighth note beat of the trill. The trill is equal to 3 eighth notes. Think of stopping on the third eighth note like this. And then, you can put in the two 16th note grace notes on the and of the third eighth note. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1. So without trilling it'd be like this. 1, 2, 3, and a 1. It makes it sound very comfortable and right in context. This will take some practice. So I would slow it way down. 1A and a 2A and a 3 and a 1. Think of metering the trill as if it were all 30-second notes. And gradually increasing the speed so you can get a feel of how the eighth notes fit in the end of the trill. This should be played very carefully. Record yourself and listen and make sure that you're in time. So the whole measure will be played. It makes for a nice phrase that works very well and feels like the ornamentation is in context. In playing this whole section, you have to be careful that the trills and the grace notes do not get in the way of the major notes themselves. So what I will do this time is play through this passage with no grace notes and see if you can play it with the grace notes and make them fit with the regular notes that I am playing. We're starting in measure 25. This is without grace notes or trills, and see if you can match the grace note and trills to what I am playing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.